All right, so just want to make a quick Bitcoin update, going over my plans, what I'm looking at. Not too much has changed, but I have taken some local trades that I want to go over, and I have some new local ideas that I'm looking at. So overall, we're still inside of this mini range, and I've gone over the possible scenarios that could happen from this range in previous videos. I think it's going to be important whether we break out of this range to the upside or to the downside. But so far, we are still trading inside this range, and I've pretty much just been trading the local price action. So I think in my last video, I believe it was on Friday, I went over the trades that I took right here. We had an interesting day of price action. I literally shorted that wick and then longed this wick. We had a very quick move, and yeah, that ended up being a pretty profitable day. I locked in a good amount of profits on both of these trades, and price ended up getting a move to the upside, so I locked in a little bit more for my long, and that got stopped out somewhere around here. I moved my stop loss up into profit, so that got taken out with a little bit more profit. And from there, I have only taken 2 trades. I took one trade from right here along, and that got stopped out. That one ended up being a loss. But then I took a long from this level, which that one ended up playing out very nicely. And I did just close out this trade. I took out a lot of profits up in this area, up around the golden pocket and PD value area high. And I just closed out the rest of this position here. I'll go over my reasoning for that in a little bit. So this was the area that I got stopped out of my long at, the long from right here. So at this point, I was not in any trades, so I began planning for my next trades. And this was yesterday, this was on Sunday. And so let me actually adjust the previous day levels to what they would have been on Sunday. So I'd be looking at Saturday's volume area. We, got to move below the previous day value area. And so off the bat, I was looking for reasons to potentially long back into this value area. And we had also, at the time, gotten a move down towards the value area low of the larger range. And yeah, actually, if you move it back, we just got to move outside of it. So this was the reason that I was interested in this area to begin with. And we did see some divergences as we got that move down there. Right here, we had a slight divergence on the 10-minute with momentum and money flow. The money flow was increasing at the time. And if I go over to Coinalyze, we did also see some trades getting stopped out with this decrease of open interest. So, yeah, off the bat, that is the reason that I was interested in this area. But ultimately, I knew that I was more interested in levels below. I was looking for a potential liquidity grab of those lows into this 3-minute order block that we had formed right here. So I knew that there was a more key level below, in my opinion, a level that I would rather wait for. But I was looking at the divergences, I was looking at the trades getting stopped out, and I thought that maybe we end up front running this for a little bit and getting some sort of a retracement move back to the upside, and maybe we can look to revisit that level later. So even though this was a valid trade setup, we did see confirmations as we got to move down to a key level, which was the value area low at the time. Also taking into consideration the previous day value area, we had gotten to move well outside of it. So I would still say that this is a valid trade setup. But what I maybe should have done was taken into consideration the possibility of something like this happening, and maybe taking less of a risk on this. I took, a normal risk on this trade, actually is slightly higher than normal risk, just because I guess my calculations were a bit off. I entered a bit later than I thought I was going to. So I ended up taking like a 1.5% total risk on this in terms of my trading account, when usually I like to risk like 1% or less of my trading account per trade. So what I could have done is realize that, all right, there is a possibility that we will, come down to this more key level, considering the fact that there is liquidity right below us and price likes to grab liquidity. So there's a good chance that, since we came down close to these lows, that we will take them out. And knowing that I would have been more confident in this trade setup as opposed to this one, maybe I should have taken less of a risk with that trade. Maybe I should have risked 0.5%. And even then, if I had that little calculation mishap, maybe I was risking like 0.75% of my account, but still I would have been taking less of a risk with this trade. And this is something that I'm really trying to improve on when it comes to trading is making decisions and kind of fine-tuning my decisions when it comes to how much I'm going to risk for a trade, for example, and pretty much trying to make the best decisions that I can based on the context. And so looking back, I would say that I probably should have taken less risk on this trade, knowing the fact that there's a good chance we take out these lows and knowing that there was a better trade setup below. So even though I took more of a loss than I meant to, it isn't a loss in my opinion if you can take a lesson from it. And even after taking that loss, I was able to pretty much make it back with this next trade and then some, because this trade ended up, playing out very nicely for me. I actually did not have my stop loss below the order block. I actually covered the wick, and I'll try to kind of go through my thought process with this trade. So, I had just gotten stopped out right here. We immediately came down to hit my order block, and we got a nice reaction back up above the low I was looking to SFP, which would be this low. We got to move back above the value area low of the range, and we were forming some divergences. So on the 10-minute, we did have a very slight local divergence there, and overall money flow diverging as well from this point back here. We saw a good divergence on the 6-minute. Money flow diverging as well, even though it came back down a little bit later. It still made a higher low. And looking at this vertical line, as we put in that low, we were getting a 6-minute divergence as well. And we saw some more trades getting stopped down on Coinalyze. Wasn't a whole lot. I definitely would have preferred to see something like this, a massive purple candle, something like this. Those are usually better signs of liquidations, but we did see some confirmations down there, but I did not enter right away. I wanted a little bit more confidence in this trade, and so I was either going to wait for a market structure break or wait for some kind of retest with absorption, wait for something to give me a little bit more confidence in this trade, and that actually came in form of a local SFP of the low. This happens sometimes, you'll put in a significant low. A lot of people probably longed this, thinking that this was going to be the low. Maybe they set their stop a little bit too aggressively, like setting it right below the first wick. And what happens, price came down to grab that before getting the larger move to the upside. So when I saw we got that local SFP, I was interested in trading that as a setup, just trading the local SFP because it was at such a key level, because it was overall a trade setup I was looking for, and that SFP ended up marking the low. So, there's no guarantee that that would have worked. Maybe we would have came back for a third tap and kind of done that like Wyckoff thing where you get 3 taps to the lows. That's a possibility, SFP in all the lows. So, setting my stop right below the wick was a little aggressive as well, you could say, but I also TP'd aggressively. I locked in profits, I think, up at these highs, and I de-risked that trade. And overall, it ended up playing out pretty much exactly how I wanted it to. We got to move up to the PD value area high, the value area high from Sunday, and that was basically my ultimate target for this. I took out a lot of profits up here. I was still holding some, which, like I said, I did just close out over here because of what I was seeing on Coinalyze. But this trade ended up playing out very nicely. And the reason I closed out this trade was because of this absorption that we are seeing. Now, it could be invalidated. If we just get like a crazy move to the upside, then okay, maybe it was just leading CBD, but since price came so far back down, my entry was like right down here, and I saw a reason to think price may come lower, so I just decided to close out my trade up in this area. I had already gotten enough profits out of it. I was completely satisfied with the trade. And one idea I was looking at was this 30-minute order block. We just front ran it with this wick as well, so we have the potential to SFP that wick into the order block, which is why I'm so interested in it. There's kind of a trade setup inside a trade setup, and it is also at the PD value area low. So it's at a key level. If we look at this larger range, the value area low is a bit lower than that, but it is, around the lows of this local range. So I'd say that this is the next idea I'd be looking at. And this actually was a trade setup I was looking at as well. We had this 2-hour order block up here, right around the golden pocket and PD value area high. And unfortunately, I just missed this trade. I wasn't at the computer when we got that move up there. And by the time I was thinking about entering, we had already, gotten a move like down to here. And the risk reward was not worth it for me. If I'm targeting, daily open, that's a 1-to-1. Definitely not worth it for me. So unfortunately, I missed that one, because if I had been at my computer, we actually SFP'd this 2-hour order block. I would probably call it a CDW because it's not an actual SFP, but you do see this sometimes where we will kind of CDW the order blocks. We'll get a move above, kind of fake people out, and then get a move back inside of it. In this case, it ended up marking the top. If I was at the computer, maybe I would have traded it something like this, covered that wick. It is a little tougher when you get a move above the order block because, if you just kind of get a move into the order block like this, then a lot of times I just like to cover the order block. But that is probably why price likes to get moves above the order block, right? Is to stop out all the people who put their stop losses up here. So, I might have traded this like, a CDW of this and covered that wick, and that would have been a good trade. But if we get another move to the upside, you could look at this high now. Could look for an SFP into the 786 or into this 15-minute order block up here. That's another potential idea I may be looking at. And then I'd be watching this high up here and this low all the way down here. That's probably all I'm going to be looking at in terms of local price action for right now. And let's go to Forex Factory because we do have some news events this week, I believe. So tomorrow at 9:45 we got some stuff that is supposed to affect USD, and on Wednesday is the FOMC meeting. So we may get some volatility this week, and maybe that is when Bitcoin will decide on its more macro direction. Maybe we will choose which direction we're going to exit this range, and maybe that can shed some light on what will happen in the future. But anyways, that is pretty much all I wanted to go over in this one. So thank you all for watching. If you enjoyed, please consider leaving a like and subscribing. And I will see you all in the next video.